friends, Erica with 10 Pegs and Crowns, and welcome back to my channel. I want to thank you for joining me today. Today I am doing part 2 of the junk journal that I made for the Lent themed devotional release from Open Journey. This was made out of a cereal box, or I don't really remember what it was made out of from. It could have been Cheez-Its. But this is the final product, or the final look. I will probably embellish it a little bit more once the April devotional is released, but used some of my own fabric that I had, burlap, and then these were actually, these right here in the tie strings to keep it closed, are actually from older kits that Ingrid had released, and she used to package them by, wrapping the devotional and the add-ons. And so, not want to waste anything, I made sure to create a little sewn element, which was inspired by Ingrid as well. She used to have those back in the day, and so inspired by that. And so did some, excuse me, printed out some digital files or some digital elements like the flowers, used the new Lent stamp, and then some of the older Lent stamp, or I don't know if this was from Lent. I don't remember. But yeah, so I did the inside really quickly. I don't think that this page is done just quite yet, just because this was thrown in here to cover some of the staples. But I have some right here. Although you can't really see them, I forgot that what I usually do is I put in the ribbons, and then I decorate the inside, so that way when I lay down the cover, it covers the staples. So hindsight, I did it kind of backwards. So I just need to embellish here just to cover it up, probably putting some fabric and maybe, some word fetty there. For the back cover and the inside cover, I use the add-on from the Lent Daily Reading that Ingrid used to create a pocket to make sure that I keep this inside my journal. Usually I used to decorate the back, but now I am using this packaging to create a pocket inside my journal to kind of keep everything together. So this is the add-on for the daily readings, the word fetty, and the seal stickers. So I'm excited that I can kind of keep everything in here as well, so I don't have to go looking for it. So putting this in here is kind of a challenge through the camera. But so that is a pocket that I created. And so, yeah, this is what it ended up looking like. So if you want to see how it all came together, stay tuned. Okay, so I am putting this video on super fast forward because it was super long, and I did edit quite a bit out just to make it all kind of fit, in a decent size or decent timed YouTube video for you. So I ended up deciding to start with the back inside cover of the journal because I was dead set on using the packaging that Ingrid included her Lent daily reading plan. And I knew that I absolutely wanted that in the back. So I started off with what when I work and I do journaling, I usually start with things I'm confident that I want. So I did want the packaging, and then I used one of those EK Tools hole punchers in this 1.5 inch size circle to create kind of like a little tab, or an indented tab. So it's easier for me to, slip in and out the daily Lent reading and the add-ons that I'm going to keep there. So I am going to use the matte medium to adhere the box, the packaging bag, I guess I can call it that, to adhere it to the back. It will stay, but I am also going to secure it with that little mini staple from Tim Holtz, just because I don't want it to go anywhere. It will leave the staples, kind of protruding in the back, but I'm not really worried about it. Like I said, this was kind of, it's a junk journal to me in my mind. So the grungier, the better, the more imperfections, the more I love it. So I do put 2 staples at the top and one right below the indented tab. And then I kind of lift up the bottom where I folded the packaging envelope. And then I made sure that I did not get the front part of the envelope as I stapled it. So only the back kind of, was secured into place. And I'm hoping that made sense to you. This is me showing you where the staples came through, but I'm okay with it. It's not the end of the world. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck in the add-ons and the Lent reading daily. I can't speak. Sorry, I am 100% trying here. And then the Polaroid pictures. So it fits really nicely. However, because I am going to be working on the cover, I'm just going to remove the Polaroid add-ons for just a second so it doesn't create unnecessary bulk as I try to finish my cover. And now I'm going to move on to the inside front cover. And these are some of the digitals that I sent on over to Office Max to print because they always have that, much better paper quality and better ink quality imaging instead of my regular printer here at home. So I decided to use this one of the image of Jesus and a girl, like he's comforting her while he has the crown of thorns on. And I don't know, that's such a moving image to me. I don't know, it just ministers to my heart. So that's what I want to use on the inside cover. I'm just cutting it down to size before I go ahead and I place it on the inside. I'm removing all the little the white border edges around it. Not sure why it doesn't fill the page when I send it over to Office Max, but I'm going to try to eyeball measure the how much length I need for the inside cover. And it was actually perfect size, height wise, so that I didn't have to trim any more from the top. So it came really close because I was kind of worried that the image might have been too large and I would have had to cut down some of the image on the right or the left of it. So I'm really, really happy that when I cut it down to size, it actually fit perfect into the inside cover. I am also going back in with the matte medium. And this time I'm actually applying it to the paper as opposed to the fabric on my journal, just because I feel like it's easier to work on actual paper than it is on fabric, because I feel like the fabric soaks up so much of that matte medium, and I just don't always feel like it's secure when it gets glued, or when I'm gluing it down I don't feel like it's secure onto that. Here is where I kind of messed up. I usually work the front cover before I do the inside of the front cover. As I mentioned earlier in the video at the beginning, because usually I try to use whatever the inside cover image or whatever I'm going to decorate the inside with to help cover up some of the staples that may go through. I was going to say shine that go through, so that they're not exposed later on. So I did it backwards. The last time I did the beautiful, the junk journals was for the beautiful series, which was last year. So I don't always do these journals, but when I do, it kind of just comes back to me. But sometimes, the steps are kind of out of order. Now these ribbons are actually from previous kits from Open Journey. She used to package her devotional kits to ship out much differently than she does now. Now she uses the little box system, which is working out great for me in organizing type of way. But she used to include it in kind of like a cloth bag, and then she would tie the dyed string around the whole devotional and all the add-ons that you may have purchased. So the kit, the add-ons, the stamps, anything, that all of it was tied with this colored ribbon. And it was, I've kept every single one that I've purchased, and I still have some that I haven't removed from their original packaging. But whatever I have removed, I always intend to try to use them. And so this is where that ribbon came from. I am spraying it with a little bit of water and then using my daughter's little iron. I forgot what she uses it for. I know it's, for a particular craft. But I use it to kind of straighten out and iron out a lot of the wrinkles, because although I don't mind the way it was all scrunched up, I did need to make sure that, that in good quality, because sometimes I've had it so long and I'm so rough with my stuff, with my stash, that I've ripped some of the ribbon before. But I did want to kind of remove a lot of that, because I didn't want to create a lot of bulk, especially for the inside of the front cover, because it was just a simple paper. Had I done that afterwards, I probably could have, reinforced it some other way, and then do the inside cover. But because I had already applied the paper, or the image of Jesus and the girl, I didn't want to create a lot of bulk. So I wanted it to be, easy to kind of insert in that little bit of leeway that I left, that I didn't adhere when I originally made the junk journal. I am using craft tweezers to kind of push in as far as I can go. And then I am going to secure that, using Barely Arts, and actually using the staple as well to make sure, just to double secure it so it doesn't go anywhere, since I'm going to be, tying this journal closed when I'm done. And then I just don't want it to fall off when I'm undoing, the untying it and then tying it back up. I know that wear and tear will eventually make it fall out, but I want it to stay on as long as it possibly can. So, and now I'm going to go in and just use some Barely Arts glue to make sure that the image, or that inside cover, is completely adhered to the journal, just because I didn't adhere it to begin with, because I didn't know how much I was going to, tuck in the ribbon onto the inside cover. And moving on to the front cover of the journal, I know that I want to use the new Lent stamp set that was released with the Closer devotional release. And I want to put the title on the front. So the Lent Closer element from that stamp set is what I intend on using. You'll see me kind of play with the placements of exactly where I want to place it, because if you saw my first video of the junk journal part 1, you'll know that my sewing machine kind of broke on me when I was trying to finish the bottom, or should I say the top, and then I just, flipped it around and used it, since you couldn't tell what top from bottom. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that the cluster covered most of what was missing when my machine broke down. So I wanted to leave enough room, but I also wanted it, closer to the center. But I knew that I was going to create a large element to put in my cover. Here I am playing, I actually took the Polaroid add-ons from the Daily Lent Reading, and I went through them and I picked a couple of them that I thought may work. So I did a process of elimination, and I ended up with the ones that I liked the most. So that way, when I started to play with the placements, it would easily eliminate or narrow down even further which ones would work together and which ones just absolutely, once you have some items, it's easy to narrow down what works best. There was a lot of back and forth as to what elements I would end up using for this cluster. I went through some of the flowers, trying to see if they kind of fit with that white cluster. And then I decided, do I want the cactus on the front of the cover? Because I really love the cactus image. So there was a lot of back and forth. I ultimately decided on the Polaroid pictures, just because if there's anything else that I may want to add later down the road, it wasn't just a cactus, which would be a more specific, I guess, theme on the cover. So I took out some of the blossoms, or the flowers. I apologize, some of the pink flowers, and then start to play with the placement and arrangements of where I want them to fall. Usually, I've said this before, but I did not follow my own advice. Is usually best if you have the elements of what you think you want to use originally all out before you start a project, because it really does narrow down, and it takes out a lot of the frustration. So it narrows down, what you will be using, and you have a more narrow, more focused, point of view. So that's the reason there was a lot of back and forth, because when I first started the cover, I had no idea what I wanted it to look like. But I do want to create a sewn element. That I know that much. Now, Ingrid used to create these sewn elements for a couple. I don't know that she did them for all of them, but I do know that she created some for a few of the kits. I know that she created some for the With You kit, I believe it was. It was also a Lent one, and I believe it was a Do You Love Me kit devotional. Um, so I wanted to bring you along on how I created my little sewn cluster. I get about 3 different kinds of fabric, the dyed one, a white one with crosses to give it some contrast, and then I use burlap, kind of something kind of deserty themed, brown. Not that it's a desert themed kind of cloth, but I don't know. It just always pairs well with, grungy, I think. So I forgot to actually push down the lever to I don't even know what it's called because I don't sew, but that's why it kind of came out kind of wonky. But it again, the grunginess just adds character to it. So I actually really liked it, even though it didn't come out, perfect. But it's not hard to do. Just get some elements. I think I usually glue them to keep them kind of intact as I go through the machine. But this time, I guess I didn't think about doing that. I just kind of held it in place with my hand. Um, Plus, the little lever not being, dropped all the way didn't help because I did feel like, there was a lot of struggle of me trying to get it to stay as I was sewing that. But, it's really easy to create your little sewn elements. You just kind of play around with the textures. I added 3 different kind of cloths or fabrics just to give it depth and contrast and interest. And now I'm going to play with elements because, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted on the cover, and I kind of wanted it to keep neutral because in my mind, I'm intending to use this journal for the Lent season for all 40 days of it. So it'll have some of March's devotional and some of the April as well. So I wanted it to not have one kit specific theme on the cover. So I just felt like, some of the pink flowers and very minimal, desert themed elements should be on the actual cover. So I opted out for, very neutral elements, I believe. I do go through the die cuts, the add-ons, and some of the digital uh, elements that I printed out because I want to use some of Ingrid's script writing to use kind of like a little title or a subheading on the cluster. So I'm going back and forth trying to see if I can find something, plus trying to find more of those neutral white and black flowers as well. So it's I saw the word closer and I originally picked it out. That is the little subhead. Wow, the subtitle heading that I was intending to use. But then again, I realized that there's already come closer on the stamp set element that was stamped as the title. So then I go back and I try to see if I can find other words that Ingrid used because I didn't want to use closer again. And then I ended up coming across the word present. Wow. Y'all, I am so sorry. I really am trying to presence, his presence. And so I opted for that one just because, when we are going through hardship and we are going through a desert season, I always feel like what we should seek is not his hand. It should be his face. It should be his presence. Like we should diligently try to seek him because he will guide us through it. He will comfort us through it. As much as we want a resolution for that season, seeking his face and him filling us with his presence and surrounding us is ultimately what the goal is, or should be at least, in my opinion. So I opted out for that one because I feel like also sometimes in those hard trying seasons, we so easily um, lose sight of his presence and his comfort because we magnify our circumstances by how much we dwell on it. So I don't know. It was just something about that word that it really, as I was worshiping and meditating when I was creating the journal, that kind of just stood out to me. That's, you know, I think encompasses the whole Lent season, I believe. So I'm just doing I wanted the word presence to stand out from the cluster because it kind of blends into it. So I added some double-sided foam adhesive sticker, and I always double secure that so it doesn't matter if it's brand new and the adhesive on it actually works. I always use Burley Arts glue to, secure it again. Um, so I want to go ahead and use that to raise it or lift it up from the actual cluster. Now to add some finishing touches, I will be using Crackling Campfire and Rusty Hinge, which are very similar in color and theme with the colors that Ingrid uses for this devotional. And I'm also using the little cross element stamp from the stamp set Closer, or for the Lent stamp set that was released. I am also using um, other elements from older stamp sets. So I'm using the crosses from the With You stamp set, which was released a while back with the With You Lent devotional. And the way I like to do this is I actually like to mix the colors in the little ones. So I'll ink up the big one or the ones that I want in a certain color, and then I go and then I rotate the mounting block, to add more color to the piece, I guess, or the rest of the element. And then I wipe off with a baby wipe where I don't want the ink to be placed on, my project or my journaling. So I usually do two colors with that. I also use the Desert Journey element and I stamp it a couple of times. Except I kind of offset it on the bottom because I wanted to make sure that it fit and that it didn't go over the sewn edges that I created. I am adding the Alpha and Omega Christogram that Ingrid created from in the beautiful stamp set. And so I actually forgot that I wanted to put flowers on the top right hand corner. So you see me doing this here last minute, really fast, because I totally forgot about that. Hindsight, no, thinking about it, I probably should have left that blank so that I can add elements from the next kit, because now my journal seems pretty full. So this is the last final look of my journal. This is how it came out. And then oh, so the white cluster, I wanted it to use it on the cover. I didn't end up using it, which kind of really made me sad because I was really set on using it. I decided that I wanted to place it in here. I don't know now if it's actually a good idea or a bad idea, but I used it to cover up the stamp or the staples that came through when I stapled the sewn element to the cover. So I decided that I would try to do it maybe somehow covering the stamps that I used for the ribbon closure. So here is the final product. This is what it looks like for now, because it might change for the next release. I might not add anything. I might just create an inside signature cover for it. But this is the inside cover of my journal. And then the back inside where I use the packaging, and it also will be doubling as my pocket. But this was a very fun project to do, and I'm excited to work through it with Lent. I hope that you enjoyed my process of creating a junk journal. I hope that it inspires you to create your own, and to let you know that it doesn't have to be perfect, and just done is better than perfect. So I hope that you enjoy. I hope that I get to see your journaling through the Lent season. And I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to my channel and liked this video. So until next time, see you then. Love you. Bye.